I'm Tamworth Grice. Welcome to my channel, the Tamworth Grice Files. Cases that are spooky, strange, macabre, supernatural, and just plain weird. And in each instance, I have a personal connection to the story, so be sure to stick around to the end to hear about my personal experience at the Cecil Hotel. Before I go any further, I want to say I appreciate and love you for watching my video, so please hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons. And also, I hope you'll leave a comment at the end and tell your friends about my new channel. Your support will mean the world to me. Today, I'm talking about the tragic disappearance and demise of Elisa Lam at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. In early 2013, she set out on a solo trip along the west coast of the United States, staying in daily contact with her parents. It's important to note that she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, had been prescribed at least 5 different medications, and had a history of not taking her meds. As a result, she'd been subject to hallucinations in the past and had been hospitalized at least once. Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles on January 26. So, what kind of place is the Cecil Hotel, or also called the Hotel Cecil? Built in 1924, the 700-room hotel featured a marble-floored lobby and stained glass windows. It flourished for a while, but during the Depression, it grew shabby as transients and criminals moved in. By the 1950s, it had lost its charm. It was a rundown flea bag. Today, it's a seedy building near Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, an area frequented by criminals, addicts, and alcoholics. An estimated 10,000 people experiencing homelessness live within a 4-mile radius of the Cecil Hotel. By the millennium, however, it was being marketed to international tourists such as Elisa Lam as a cheap place to stay in Los Angeles. These promos were often accompanied by photos of the hotel's still opulent lobby, but they lacked information about its dangerous location and the fact that many long-term residents were derelicts and even criminals. Promos also neglected to mention the fact that some say it is haunted or cursed. Elisa Lam began her stay in shared dormitory-style accommodations with other young women. However, after 2 days, she was moved to a private room because her roommates complained. She'd been leaving notes for them reading, "Go home" and "Go away." In addition, a few days before her disappearance, Lam attended a live TV show taping in Burbank and was escorted out by security due to her disruptive behavior. It appeared she'd gone off her meds again, and sadly, no one was there to help her. On January 31st, after 5 days at the Cecil, and on the day she was scheduled to check out, Elisa failed to contact her family, as she always did daily. Alarmed, they reported her as missing. The Los Angeles police searched the hotel, including Lam's room and parts of the rooftop, but they found no sign of her. A week after Lam had last been seen, flyers with her image were posted in the neighborhood and online. A week later, police released the notorious elevator video. The footage in the elevator was the last known sighting of her, and it was taken by one of the surveillance cameras in elevator at the Cecil on January 31st. It shows her behaving very strangely. She presses multiple buttons, peeks into the hallway, steps in and out, seems to hide in the corner as if someone is following her. She steps back out into the hall and seems to be gesturing to someone, but we can't see anyone. Was she hallucinating? Was someone really there, out of range of the camera? Was she being stalked by a killer? By February 19th, hotel guests were complaining about the water in the taps. A low-pressure, brownish or blackish color to the water, and a strange taste. A maintenance worker investigated the hotel's 4 rooftop tanks. Inside one of them, unfortunately, he found Elisa's dead, naked body, and so authorities were called in. The autopsy showed no signs of trauma or foul play. Toxicology tests revealed very small traces of her prescribed medication, showing that she'd gone off her meds, but no other drugs were in her system. The coroner ruled her death as an accidental drowning. But how did she get onto the locked roof, which had alarms and security doors? How did she lift the heavy tank lid alone? And why was she naked with her clothes found floating in the tank beside her? Why didn't the LAPD, which was searching with sniffer dogs, find her during their initial search? And what was going on in that elevator? The Cecil Hotel has since rebranded itself as Stay on Main and become official sponsored housing for the homeless, yet its dark legacy remains. Part of that legacy involves the infamous Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, who supposedly visited the bar at the Cecil before she was brutally murdered in 1947 at the age of 22, just 1 year older than Elisa Lam. In addition, the Cecil's former residents included 2 convicted serial killers, the notorious Night Stalker Richard Ramirez and the lesser-known Austrian murderer Jack Unterweger. There's lots of information about the case and about the hotel on the internet if you want to find out more. But now let me tell you about my personal connection to the Cecil Hotel. In 2004, I was living in Los Angeles trying to become a screenwriter, and I became interested in Jack Unterweger, a handsome and charming Austrian serial killer who had stayed at the Cecil Hotel. I thought about writing a true crime screenplay about him. He was a career criminal who'd been convicted in 1976 of the murder of an 18-year-old sex worker. While in prison, he took up writing, and because of his work, he became a sensation among the literati in German-speaking Europe. By the time he was released in 1990, one of his books was being taught in schools, and his children's stories were produced as radio plays. In 1991, an Austrian magazine hired Unterweger to go to Los Angeles and write about crime there, in particular prostitution. And this was like putting the fox in charge of the hen house. He met with LAPD officers and participated in ride-alongs through red light districts. Unknown to cops at the time, he killed 3 sex workers in LA. Meanwhile, police in Europe suspected him of the slaying soon after his release from prison of 7 more sex workers. He was finally arrested by U.S. Marshals in February of 1992. While in Los Angeles, Unterweger lived at the Cecil Hotel. Of course, he was long gone by the time Elisa Lam disappeared, but in doing preliminary research for my screenplay, 9 years before Elisa Lam's death, I visited the Cecil. In spite of its desolate location, upon entering, I was struck by the beautiful interior. I was denied access to the upper floors because I wasn't checked in, but I managed to sneak up to them anyway. This is an important detail because everyone wonders how Elisa Lam got up to the hotel roof because access was limited. But if I could get to the upper floor, she could probably get to the roof. One theory is that she used the fire escape. She climbed out a window onto the fire escape and reached the roof that way. Anyway, when I was there, the dark hallways outside the rooms were a stark contrast to the fancy lobby. The carpets were dirty, the place stank of alcohol, cigarettes, and stale sweat, and a few residents sat with their doors open. Their rooms were a mess filled with disarrayed belongings like a hoarder's lodgings. In one hallway, a lanky young man with greasy blonde hair who looked like a meth addict lounged against the wall talking to a woman who looked like a hooker. But beyond all that, I got what you'd call a very bad vibe about the place. Now, I've been in a lot of seedy places, and as long as I feel safe, I'm not terribly uncomfortable. But that was not the case at the Cecil. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I remember how my heart was pounding, and I was sweating with anxiety as I headed back to my car. And I never wrote the screenplay about Unterweger. I didn't want to remind myself about the Cecil Hotel. So what do you think? Is the Cecil Hotel haunted? Was some kind of curse responsible for the bad vibes I felt that day? Did something evil and cursed and supernatural attract Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger? Did it kill Elisa Lam? Lam's official cause of death was an accidental drowning, but some say it was suicide, perhaps due to the curse. The hotel has been the scene of several suicides over the years. Was she murdered, perhaps stalked by someone from Skid Row who'd spotted her during one of her outings? Other theories include ghosts, aliens, and a government conspiracy. I personally think that in a semi-hallucinogenic state, due to being off her meds, she explored the hotel and tried to go for a swim in the water tank, where she drowned because she was unable to climb out. But that doesn't explain how such a petite woman removed and then replaced the 20-pound tank cover, or why she behaved so strangely in the elevator. I guess we'll never know. But please remember, Elisa Lam was not just a headline, and she's more than the subject of a YouTube video. She was someone's daughter. She was someone's sister. She was a student. She was a person. Her life deserves more than conspiracy theories. It deserves compassion and understanding. And before I go, I want to say, if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or experiencing a crisis, know that help is available via one of the resources shown here. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, like, sign up for notifications, and spread the word about my channel. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts about what caused Elisa Lam's demise, or if there are any cases you want me to explore. I love and appreciate you all for watching, and I hope you'll return to view the next video in the Tamworth Grice Files. Bye!